The Amazons are the first Hero Pack DLC for a Total War Saga Troy, and it brings you an entirely new culture to play as, with unique heroes and missions as well as an all-female unit roster, focusing on cavalry tactics and speed. In this video, we'll take a look at what's on offer in the new DLC, peek at the historic inspirations behind the Amazons, and then I'll end with a few of my own thoughts on the DLC as well. The Amazons were a tribe of mythical warrior women, renowned in Greek legends for both their beauty and warrior prowess. In the epic of the Trojan War, they arrived as reinforcements to King Priam of Troy and acted as mercenary soldiers, besting the Achaean army in combat and nearly killing some of their greatest heroes. As your campaign begins in this DLC, the Amazonian queens Penthesilea and Hippolyta answer Priam's call to war, looking to avenge the Achaeans' sacking of their ancient home of Themyscira. But the two heroes disagree on the best path for vengeance, and you'll find they offer two very different campaigns to experience. As Hippolyta, your goal is to found a new kingdom for your people, and use the Trojan War to carve out a home in Asia Minor. You'll also be tasked with capturing sacred regions to gather stolen Amazon treasures, which can then be used to unlock milestones on your way to founding a new Amazonian kingdom. These milestones allow you to rank up your units, improve diplomatic deals, and instantly research royal decrees. Hippolyta's unit roster has access to heavy infantry and specializes in excellent archers and ranged cavalry, and give off a definite Pontus vibe that is already terrifying the internet. In Greek myth, Hippolyta is probably the most well-known Amazon, having frequently tangled with Theseus and Hercules. Her name, though, means the horse let loose, and it's quite possible this was a royal title versus an actual name, as she appears in stories that span generations. As the queen of the Amazons during the Attic War, she was in charge when the Achaeans sacked their home of Themyscira and met her death shortly thereafter, or during, or a completely separate event depending on your source. It's Greek myth. What do you want? When you play as her sister, Penthesilea, you'll instead be doing your best to burn the world to the ground and get revenge for your fallen sisters, roaming the world as a horde army, raising settlements as you go. Each settlement grants additional unique war spoils that boost your treasury and keep you moving on the campaign map. Pledged to avenge her people, Penthesilea has access to unique blood oaths that can be used to unlock and upgrade elite blood-sworn units. You attain a battle glory resource from winning battles that allows you to then interact with the blood oath system, upgrading and summoning these elite units to your aid, though their timer is very short and you may find the enemy has run away before you're able to bring them to bear, and then your army's battle glory meter resets to 50, preventing spam summoning. Penthesilea's faction really has no heavy infantry except for a single two-handed axe unit, the awesome Daughters of Ares. Her force instead focuses on light javelin cavalry and medium or heavy melee cavalry, one of which has them riding around swinging axes from horseback. Both factions, though, will make you work for these elite cavalry units, as you can only upgrade or improve your units through the Initiation Rites recruitment system, which works a lot like the upgrade system from Mount and Blade, where once a unit gains enough experience in battle, you have the option to upgrade them to a new tier of unit, typically with a choice between two optional pathways. The difference here is that there is still a building requirement that must be met before that unit upgrade can happen. It also makes it so that the Amazons can only ever recruit first-tier units. All advanced and elite units must be trained up from the bottom, so be careful not to lose them. If you want them to advance faster, make sure to spec into abilities that allow units to instantly upgrade to a higher tier or gain extra experience after battle. The general feel of the Amazons is fast and maneuverable, with good ranged and cavalry options, but weaker frontline defense infantry, so expect to always be on the move and be constantly clicking to reposition your units for maximum effectiveness. The marketing campaign for A Total War Saga Troy has pushed their truth behind the myth approach to varying degrees of success, but with the Amazons, the creative assembly has found much firmer ground to stand on. Some early Greek historians claim that the Amazons were the first to develop mounted cavalry, a point leaned into quite heavily with this DLC. The myth's true origins places them somewhere along the Black Sea in the Middle Bronze Age, as a mythologized remembrance of Scythian and Sarmatian matriarchal steppe tribes. Much has already been said on the burial mounds of Scythian warrior women, found entombed with horses, bows, and spears, their bodies adorned with intricate tattoos and symbols of rank and power, and their parallels with the Amazons here are obvious, as we see these same symbols in the Amazons DLC. I would also like to add my own observation that, generally speaking, horses in this period were quite small and normally unable to bear the weight of adult male warriors for long periods, which is why we most often see them harnessed to chariots for battles in the Bronze Age. It would require another 1,000 years of breeding and the development of saddles to better distribute the weight across the horse's back to enable widespread mounted warfare. A curious note, though, is that the oldest evidence of mounted horses comes from the Eurasian steppes at around 2000 BC, and the lesser weight of a female rider would not have put as much stress upon the animal, making them uniquely suited for a brief period in history as light cavalry. Both Penthesilea and Hippolyta are referred to as queens in the game, with CA citing an ancient source where the Amazons always had one queen who focused on home defense and development, with the other leading their army expeditions. I can't find any other references to this dual queenship, but it sounds suspiciously similar to the Spartan system, so if you know anything about it, please post a link below. Regardless, in the mythology, the sisters weren't joint queens. Queen Hippolyta was accidentally stabbed by her sister Penthesilea with a spear, and it killed her, making Penthesilea the new queen. And I say accidentally here with air quotes on both sides. It was this event that led to Penthesilea seeking out King Priam of Troy for absolution from the killing, and Priam agreed on the condition that Penny and the Amazons fought for him as mercenaries for a bit in the Trojan War. Visually, the game is taking its cues from Greek pottery depicting the Amazons, putting them in Phrygian-inspired hats and Scythian or Thracian trousers, which makes sense as pants are associated with horse-riding ancient cultures as they prevented chafing. A few visual inspirations also come in from the recent Wonder Woman movie, with Hippolyta notably looking like Robin Wright in the film. The actual Amazonian army probably wasn't all female, but as represented here, it falls in line with established Greek myth. Which is all to say, as historiosity goes, this DLC is pretty good. By far the most interesting parts of the Amazon DLC are the changes to how hordes work and the new recruitment system. Gone are the days of resource-starved wimps aimlessly wandering around the countryside. Settlements now give a bonus amount of a specific resource when you raise it, and since the only option is to raise, you are then forced to move on and pick your next target. It felt good to be flushed with resources, and I fully expect a version of this system to appear in future titles. But the UI elements surrounding the new mechanic work less well. The War Spoils screen, in particular, is frankly redundant, as the same information can be seen on the campaign map just by mousing over the icon next to any settlements. I suppose it might be useful if you really need to find a certain type of resource, but that's hardly a reason to make it so prominent on the UI panel, and then there's this huge empty unused area below it as well. The UI for Penthesilea's Blood Oath system is equally clunky. As Battle Glory is both a pooled and individual resource for each army, the display of the mechanic is split between the Blood Oaths panel and a meter on the bottom UI. At first, I didn't know this was a clickable button down here, and then I was baffled after I clicked it that the Bloodsworn units didn't appear in my army. I expected a second tab or a new army to appear like the WA system for Warhammer, but there was no immediately obvious sign of their presence. It's only when you engage in a battle that they appear. And with a 2-turn timer that must be clicked before entering the battle, you can't use it as an oh crap button if you're ambushed either, making them so they're really only useful when attacking settlements. Penthesilea's campaign also requires constant stance swapping, as you can only build, recruit, get faster replenishment, and prevent the loss of Battle Glory points in the in-camp stance. As it costs no points to swap to, you can do it at the end of every turn, but that means at the start of the next turn, you must then click and leave the stance to do anything else, back and forth over and over every turn for the entire game. It left me wondering why the in-camp stance's abilities weren't rolled into her default stance. Experience-based unit upgrades is an excellent idea, hampered here only by the old buildings mechanic. The required experience gain automatically time gates when a unit upgrade is available. But here, there are 2 additional time gates that require upgrades to the main settlement chain and further upgrades to specific buildings to unlock new units, neither of which adds fun to the game and seem redundant to me. These buildings could instead offer bonuses to encourage pathway specializations or ditch the building system altogether. If this all sounds nitpicky to you, it should. Only by pointing out these minor quibbles can a game change or improve. Part of the pitfall of having annualized releases and a new DLC every month is it leaves little time to experiment with big, bold choices. The Amazon DLC brings some great ideas to the table, but they're saddled with UI bloat and shoehorning in older mechanics. But it's still a step in the right direction, and I look forward to seeing what happens when they really cut loose and run with these ideas. The Amazon's DLC will be free to claim on the Total War Access website from the 24th of September to the 8th of October 2020. You'll have until the 5th of November to then apply the product key to your Epic Games account, and then the DLC is free to keep forever. I know I'll be picking mine up, and I hope you will as well. Thanks for watching, and look for a mostly accurate history on the Trojan War to release on this channel soon.